Hey there, and thank you so much for being with us on this Thursday, September 11th. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Welcome to Weather Out West. If you haven't joined us before, we thank you for joining us first and foremost. But Weather Out West is an hour-long show where we give you the latest of what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. And you'll find forecasts from our meteorologists in Colorado, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California, and even the desert Southwest. Today, we're going to kick things off in Boise because storms brought gusty winds, lightning, and rain to Idaho yesterday, but showers are still expected today. Boise's Hector Mendoza tells us when and where to expect them and if the weather will improve by the weekend.
Well, we had some storms roll through the Treasure Valley in places in southwest Idaho, and we saw that through the morning and through the afternoon. And these are some of the sights that we saw with some very gusty winds there across the Treasure Valley from some of the outflow of some of the storms that we saw. My name is Hector Mendoza, forecasting here in Boise, Idaho. And a lot of those storms that we saw yesterday, not a lot of precipitation we saw coming along with it. Most of the precipitation stayed in places there in southeast Oregon, but again, for the most part, just some of those very light sprinkles we saw early on into the morning, and the only spot that saw any sort of measurable precipitation was out in Caldwell there, and that was what we continue to see through the rest of the day today. But that active pattern continues not just through today, but all the way in through the end of the week. We're expecting to see hit or miss showers and thunderstorms. Again, that's pretty much the theme we've been seeing since yesterday, and some of the heaviest rain and some of the most likely spots to see the precipitation is going to be in eastern Oregon and continuing there in the Idaho Central Mountains for this afternoon and into tomorrow. And again, here's a picture here by Mark Jackson that posted this on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page of an intracloud lightning here that we saw through yesterday with some of the storms there as we saw some of that precipitation coming from some of those clouds. What an amazing view we saw there, and a lot of people hunkered down there towards the evening heading into dinner time. But for today's storms, they are going to favor the mountains for today, as we are going to see some pockets of active weather here in the valleys, but we are going to see cooler temperatures. So fall-like territory is what we're expecting here today and into tomorrow. So looking at the satellite and radar picture, we continue with some of that precipitation. Again, it's been centered through the morning there in portions of the Central Mountains. Haven't really seen much of that activity earlier on this morning, but we're going to continue to see that pick up, especially as we look on into the evening there in the Magic Valley. And as we zoom on out, it continues to be that area of the low pressure here that we continue there in Northern California. It's going to make its way on through, and that's what's going to keep some of those shower chances into today, tomorrow, and possibly linger in through Saturday for portions of the mountains. So as I fast forward through this future cast to this afternoon, we'll see that there is where we're expecting to see some of those thunderstorms, as we expect it to start to pick up between 5 and 6 o'clock this afternoon and continue on through the evening. We'll see some spots in the Magic Valley could see some of that rain very late in the afternoon. And then as we fast forward into tomorrow afternoon, again, it continues there into the mountains. So the West Central Mountains expecting to see McCall, areas there into Stanley that will continue to see those chances into tomorrow. But here for the Treasure Valley, we're expecting to see a lot more of those clouds and continue with cooler temperatures into tomorrow before we see much drier conditions as we head closer into Saturday. But as we look at the 7-day forecast here, we're going to continue to see some of those thunderstorm chances all the way through at least into the weekend. Here in Twin Falls, we'll see those cooler temperatures there. Stick around those low 70s there into Friday and start to warm up as we get on into Saturday and into Sunday. Then we'll start to see those temperatures drop down into the upper 60s there, low 50s there for the morning, and continue into the upper 40s there as we look at Tuesday and Wednesday. But we'll see a lot more of that sunshine start to return. And then as we look at the 7-day forecast here for Boise and spots here in the Treasure Valley, we're expecting to see temperatures kind of conditions stay similar there as we wrap up the work week. We'll go on into the low 80s and start to warm up as we see a ridge of high pressure start to build ever so slightly there into Saturday. And then we have another low that comes in and bring us another chance of some showers that comes along Sunday into Monday. We'll see those temperatures drop again as we're expecting to see even lower temperatures down into the low to mid 70s there for Monday and Tuesday. But we anticipate seeing a little bit more of that sunshine, maybe some patchy fog there in the morning for Tuesday and Wednesday. But we're going to see another warm up that comes along there. And as that trend continues, we expect to see those temperatures stick around those low 80s. So seasonal temperatures expected from the middle of the week to the following week there into the following weekend.
Now, while the best chance for thunderstorms will be in Idaho and well to the east of eastern Washington, a few showers or storms are possible in the Spokane area. Otherwise, it's going to be a couple of very nice late summer days in Spokane, Washington. Here's Thomas Patrick with much more.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. Today will be an interesting day for the inland Northwest, as it is our best chance to see any thunderstorms in the region. Might be a bit more likely at a location like this, Silver Mountain in North Idaho, than say in Spokane proper. Those differences, though minute, are pretty important across what is a pretty wide viewing area here. So we have scattered thunderstorm chances, a little bit better on the Idaho side of the state line as opposed to Washington. And those are the details that I've been poring over this morning. As we look at the forecast and almanac today, still at 82 degrees, which is slightly above normal. And we'll need the heat from that sunshine to re-energize the air and atmosphere for that next round of storms. Because we actually did already have a wave that was pressing through our southern areas very early this morning, almost late last night, depending on how late you stay up. Areas like Lewiston, Idaho, and into southeastern Washington got quite a rumble of thunder with some thunderstorms. But by the time that wave arrived in Spokane, just ran out of fuel, ran out of gas, ran out of energy. And that's what the sunshine will help with for the afternoon, is to re-energize and reload the energy levels in total. I think it'll be very similar, especially location-wise, for this next round of thunderstorms. So here it is, divvied up by area and by likeliness. And it's North Idaho and Central Idaho that has by far the best chance here at 70%. So likely, we'll definitely see thunderstorms here, maybe not perfectly widespread, but plenty of regions, not only over the mountains, but into areas like Grangeville, Orofino, and up towards Wallace, Idaho, all have the best chance. From there on out, the storms will start pressing westward. But the question is, how far west? It is maybe almost 40 or 50% chance to get to the Palouse, which would be Pullman and Moscow, as well as Coeur d'Alene. But once you get into Spokane, those percentages keep going down, and that likelihood is a lot lower, especially from Spokane and westward, listed as only a 20% chance for rain or storms. Here's what it looks like on our future tracker modeling. And again, this is just one computer model simulation of several that we look at. But this one, as it plots at 4 p.m., there's your thunderstorms in North Idaho and Central Idaho. As it presses westward, well, it gets into Lewiston in this case, but not even to Coeur d'Alene or Spokane. Again, this is just one simulation of the events to be had today. But just the farther west you go, the way less likely it is for those storms to even occur in the first place. So if and only if it storms in Spokane, would be after 6 p.m. tonight. So I list that as a chance of storms for this evening at the fair. Otherwise, should be dry otherwise. Couple other minor factors that we're watching. The smoke is still in play, still looking pretty hazy outside, but not seeing any major drops in air quality. And then we move ahead towards the weekend. Really, the biggest update to our forecast was back on Sunday. After it trended a bit warmer, now we're realizing the cold front actually is going to be pretty well intact. That is another good chance for some rainfall, as our temperatures will now dip into the 70s to start next week, at least for a couple days. But in the meantime, temperatures are still low 80s for today, tomorrow, and Saturday, with today being our best chance for rain or storms, but more on the Idaho side as opposed to eastern or central Washington. Again, you saw that Spokane only has a 20% chance for rain or storms. But we did trend drier for Friday and Saturday, so a great start to the weekend. And for now, we're tracking a cold front to pass through the Pacific Northwest on Sunday. It looks like evening rain showers are looking likely across the region, as that will drop those temperatures just a bit more towards their averages in the low to mid 70s.
Coming up after a quick break, we're headed to Colorado, where heavy rain and severe thunderstorms are possible. Our meteorologist in Denver will have the details, and Phoenix's Ginger Jeffries will tell us how a developing tropical system in the eastern Pacific could impact Arizona. Now let's head straight to Colorado. Denver's Chris Bianchi and Katie LaSalle are tracking the potential for heavy rain and thunderstorms.
Well, it was a hot day across Colorado back on Wednesday. Thursday shaping up to be similarly warm, but might notice here in the mountains some 60s and some 70s, an indication of that initial push of monsoon moisture that'll be our main weather story as we look ahead to Thursday and beyond. Eastern Plains, Denver actually officially topping out at the airport at 91 degrees, 89 downtown, 83 in Burlington, 88 in Lamar. Point being, what you're looking at here, generally speaking, 5 to 10 degrees above average for this time of year. There's a flood watch coming up for your Thursday with that flood watch mostly covering the mountains, and that is going to be for some widespread monsoon moisture that moves in for Thursday and Friday, turning stormy for us in the high country starting on Thursday, maybe even as early here as the late morning hours, but this will be mainly Thursday afternoon with those widespread showers and storms. Thursday's high temperatures, 80s, 90s once again for us across the Eastern Plains. Average high in Denver, 82. So when you see that 88, close to 90-degree reading, tells us it's going to be another hot day ahead for us for this time of year. 60s and 70s for us in the mountains. A bit more rain cooled, especially the further south and west you go. Telluride topping out just 64 degrees. Also for us Thursday, severe weather threat for us covering most of the mountains and the northeastern corner of the state, where there's a potential for some damaging wind and some large hail. A little bit unusual for us to be talking about that for us in the mountains as well. So widespread showers and storms for us here on your Thursday across the mountains, and those showers and storms I-70 on south, some of those will include us in the Denver area, that wind and hail threat force out here as well. And those showers and storms sticking around throughout most of the day here on Thursday with some pretty decent rain totals, especially the further south and west you go into the San Juans, Telluride on south, seeing the highest rainfall totals over the next couple of days. 7-day forecast, yeah, stormy for us in Denver. It does cool down a little bit for us Saturday and Sunday.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle. We are bracing for a major shift in the weather department. We'll see more monsoon moisture streaming in, and the National Weather Service from now until at least Friday evening has issued a flood watch, especially just on and west of the Continental Divide. So our central and southern mountains bracing for more of this moisture streaming in. I want to explain what this exactly means when you talk about monsoonal moisture. There's an area of low pressure off to our west. This is creating more moist air to roll into the desert southwest and here across the Four Corners region, including western Colorado. So we have a ridge of high pressure moving off to our east, and this is all stemming from precipitation and moisture air from the Gulf of California and the Pacific Ocean. So as we get into this afternoon and evening, especially through the day on Friday, a lot of that moisture moving into the western half of the state, and that creates fuel for powerful thunderstorms, slow moving, and the potential for moderate to heavy rainfall. So the impact, heavy rain over western Colorado today and tomorrow. That persistent plume of monsoon moisture sticks with us. That'll give us the potential for flash flooding, especially over burn scar areas that are already seeing that kind of stagnant area, and then also could see some land and mudslides as that rain continues to just hammer down with some of those persistent downpours. Lightning, of course, and gusty winds with thunderstorms that do form upwards of 40 to 50 mile-per-hour wind gusts associated with these cells as well. So for tomorrow morning, we will continue to usher in more storm and shower activity. Wet weather expected for the mountains for both today and tomorrow. Fewer storms and showers expected over the Eastern Plains, the Continental Divide acting kind of as a barrier for this, but just be prepared. If you're in the area, be aware of any warnings. Right now, it's just a watch in place for the majority of the western half of the state. Again, that's in effect until Friday night.
Phoenix is expecting a little taste of fall heading into the weekend now that fall is officially 12 days away, 12 days away. But temperatures and rain chances may go back up next week. Now, the rain chances, well, it could be because of a developing tropical system currently near Mexico. Ginger Jeffries has those details.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. We'll look at your weather out west across the great state of Arizona, where, hey, we've got a cooling trend settling in for the weekend. Lots of folks excited about what our version of fall weather is, which means we've got a little bit of wind, we've got a little bit of monsoon bubbling up in portions of the state, but temperatures are going to be dropping down below the century mark. We're inching our way there, folks. The only way we can do it is with the help of some strong winds. Of course, yesterday we had that high wind advisory for the higher higher elevations today, you can still see quite a few wind icons on the board. However, we're not at that advisory status, which basically means we're not looking for the duration of the winds to go all day. We're still going to see some winds peaking, especially around sundown, and we could get up to 30 miles an hour. But again, we're not at advisory status. Meantime, the impact from the wind, well, it's being felt across the state. I mean, look at this. Yuma, 99 degrees. We've got 99 for Havasu, about 82 today in Prescott, 85 in Sedona under mostly sunny skies, 74 in Flagstaff. A little bit of rain moving into the east side of the state. Safford's going for a high of 95, but again, that monsoon moisture bubbling up. And overhead here in Phoenix, our average range this time of the year, 102. Exactly where we're headed. All right, take a look at this. Futurecast data showing you after the noon hour. All right, lesser of a degree of wind speed from yesterday, but still, these are going to be substantial winds. 20, 25 mile an hour winds, possibly that 30 mile an hour wind gust, but again, not as bad as yesterday. Then they'll ramp up just before the sun goes down, and you're seeing a little more widespread activity, but again, velocity down under 25 miles an hour, and then close it in on about 8, 9 o'clock. We're going to see these winds die down. Pretty much everybody looking for single-digit winds. So again, the wind event duration velocity not as strong as yesterday, but the impact will be felt. Now we also have some unsettled weather through the rim and southeast Arizona. We started to see that yesterday. In fact, it was getting a little dirty, hazy right around the base of the atmospheres, but we've got these scattered storms for much of the area, not really including northern Arizona, the valley, or western Arizona, even though we can see it developing here in the valley. And these storms, they're gonna bubble up a little bit more. In fact, they're brushing awfully close to the metro. You saw that on the far east side. But today, it looks like the dynamic systems, yeah, they're getting a little more widespread and getting a little closer. I don't expect to see anything hitting the valley, but again, they're knocking on our door. Most of it hanging out closer to the Tucson area and higher elevations through the White Mountains. And again, some of these are dynamic in nature, so we'll continue to watch that. Meantime, this guy, I told you about it yesterday, tropical outlook showing that the area you see in red, it has potential for tropical storm and possible hurricane development, not just within the next week, but within the next 2 days. Why that's important for us is this tropical moisture can feed systems that bring in some monsoon energy. So for the high country, we're targeting early part of next week, and I know it's minimal at this point, but it's also a long range forecast, and I want to keep you posted about it. Look at this for Phoenix, middle part of next week, we're starting to see the development of some showers. So we'll just keep you posted on that. Again, long range forecast. Right now, the focus is the bottom line where, yeah, we are dropping into the double digits for Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and Apache Junction. Higher elevations, remember, you still have some wind in the works today and tomorrow. Temperature wise, definitely on the mild side, and there's that pop of showers by Tuesday next week. For the valley, we continue to trend down. We're officially below the normal range starting tomorrow, and we should be pretty close to at or below normal for the next 7 days.
Autumn is right around the corner, but it already feels and looks like fall in Seattle and Portland. We're going to take you to the Pacific Northwest after a quick break. Welcome back to Weather Out West. It is Thursday, September 11th, and you are taking a look at downtown Seattle, Lumen Field, and then you're looking at SCA Airport in Seattle. And you can see just a blanket of fog. Thankfully, that is going to mix out, though it's going to be a very, very slow burn there. And it's been pretty dry there in Seattle and in all of Western Washington, but you can see some foggy conditions. It looks a lot like fall. Rain is back in the forecast, so you just have to add a little bit of rain to feel really like fall in Seattle. Rich Marriott tells us when the rain returns to the Emerald City.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott, and well, looking a little fall-like out there as we've seen the fog form overnight, and it's been pretty widespread this morning. It's been enough to slow down and cancel some ferries today because of visibility, and we're down to zero visibility at out at Everett's Payne Field and over towards Bremerton in a few places, so probably slowing down travel quite a bit to start off the day, but that is going to be lifting as we head towards later in the morning. You see there in Bellingham, it's been looking reasonably good. We've seen the clouds, the fog has stayed pretty much out there over the water and hasn't moved into the marina at all during the course of the morning. There in Everett, actually, we had very little visibility there from the wee small hours until about almost mid-morning, and now clearing out, starting to clear out anyway. It's been kind of sporadic. It will clear a little bit and then it'll come back down again and then gradually lift even higher the next time. So the trend is towards that fog gradually lifting as we head towards mid to late morning. There at SEA, the airport, not seeing much of it out there. We're seeing a little bit more than we saw earlier, but again, they're down to reporting zero visibility at mid-morning, but not hearing any effects on flights at this point. So that's good news, and thank you, modern technology, for that. Checking Tacoma. The Tacoma Dome was missing for quite a while this morning, but it's back, and we're gradually seeing that fog lift into a low deck of clouds that should gradually burn off as we head into the early afternoon hours. You can see it's pretty widespread today around most of western Washington, though the usually fog-prone South Sound down around Olympia has had very little fog today for some reason. It's kind of interesting switch. Checking our First Alert 7-day forecast, we should see just less fog tomorrow morning and definitely less fog for Saturday morning. We'll be warming back up again as we head towards Saturday. It does look like we'll see a chance of some rain moving in late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, so we'll finish the weekend up with quite a few showers around, but should return to generally sunshine and drier weather as we head towards the middle part of next week. Satellite image shows that upper level low we've been tracking all week has now moved up in here into Idaho, and you can see the rotation around it not quite making it back to western Washington now, so it's no longer having much effect upon us. However, we do have a big area of high pressure out here that's going to be pushing in later today on into Saturday. That is going to give us sunny weather and after some morning clouds and also gradually warmer temperatures. And then the front's going to be pushing in here as we head towards late Saturday night and give us kind of a wet and much cooler day as we head into Sunday. Checking the temperatures there at around Seattle during the week, and see they cool down. We were in the mid to upper 70s yesterday. We're going to cool back to the upper 60s and low 70s today and tomorrow, and then warm up again Saturday, drop down into the 60s. So we're kind of moving back and forth towards late summer and early fall, preparing us for the arrival of fall, which is only 11 days away. Just a week from next Monday it arrives officially. So it's definitely starting to look and feel a little bit more like that. We do still have some smoke out there around western Washington, but still in the light blue, so still pretty light smoke out there, just a little bit of smoke haze. As our onshore winds are increasing, which is what's bringing in more fog and low clouds, it's also helping to start pushing some of that smoke out of western Washington, especially as we head into tomorrow, though it's still near the fires in eastern Washington, still pretty prevalent over there. We're looking for good air quality around western Washington for today and again for tomorrow, so in good shape as it has been for much of the summertime, where most of the smoke is staying up at higher elevations and east of the Cascades. In fact, looking out from Hurricane Ridge, you can see you're not even seeing the marine deck, just see a little bit of light smoke haze there and plenty of sunshine, so you can get above the clouds and fog. There at Snoqualmie Pass, you can see the low overcast there, but it's right down on the camera there at Stevens Pass, so you will see a little bit of fog and a little cloudiness through the Cascade passes, but sunshine, you can definitely see that smoke up there from eastern Washington kind of filtering into the area there at Paradise on Mount Rainier. Our hiking forecast for today, you see some fog and low clouds near the passes, but once you get towards later this morning and this afternoon, you should see the sun come out up in the mountains and temperatures at the pass levels getting into the mid 60s. Those high temperatures today, as I said, cooling back from yesterday when we were in the mid to upper 70s. We got mid to upper 60s north of Seattle, and then mostly upper 60s and low 70s when you get down Seattle southward. As we head into tomorrow, pretty much a repeat in terms of the temperatures. We are going to warm up on Saturday, and then that rain moves in late Saturday night, early Sunday, turns to off and on showers and sun breaks on Sunday. Monday, we'll see a few morning showers and partly sunny. Tuesday, we'll see morning clouds and afternoon sun. Wednesday looks partly sunny. There's a slight chance of a shower, mainly up towards the Canadian border from a system passing through British Columbia, and it cools it back a little bit too, with highs right around 70 degrees as we continue our march towards fall.
While scattered storms are possible in central and eastern Oregon as that upper low begins to depart the region, it's pretty gray and cool in Portland as well. Rod Hill is tracking the potential for showers this weekend.
From Portland on a somber news day, we kind of have the weather scene to match the news headlines today in that we have a solid low cloud deck, maybe getting some patchy drizzle. Have not seen reports of that, but if you're going to be in our area today, probably still cloudy at noon, and we may not end up getting much sun. This is our Pioneer Park building looking at the city center and what we call Pioneer Courthouse Square, and there's the historic Pioneer Courthouse. I want to take you through some headlines of what I'm looking at as a forecaster. So what I call stubborn clouds today, and that means I can't guarantee that we develop sunbreaks this afternoon. Absolutely likely that we will be solid overcast going into the PM hours. Now we have a sunny warm up. Tomorrow and Saturday look to be beautiful days, and growing confidence that after some false calls for rain, that this Sunday will deliver. I think we wake up Sunday morning and it's raining here. Absolutely enough that would impact your plans, and then breaking into scattered showers during the day. All of the weather models show the same timing and the same setup. A surface low, an upper level low stacked on top of it. Decent bit of moisture coming in that would be approaching 1/4 inch and maybe significantly more than that. And then next week, this is my favorite headline of the morning. Sunny skies developing on Tuesday, a run of sunny days. And here's my favorite part, low humidity. We have had one of the more consistently humid summers in memory here in Portland. And the reason is we've had very few days with an east wind flow. Well, the east wind flow is what brings us low humidity. We are finally going to see that set up for a run of days starting Tuesday of next week. Now, we could have some warming weather. I mean, some of the models say 85, even close to 90, say a week from tomorrow, a week from Friday. But the overnight temperatures would really drop off, and with the low humidity, some areas would be in the 40s at night, so not a bad combo. I believe today will be the finale of the scattered shower thunderstorm pattern that we've had this week in central and eastern areas of our state. No lightning being reported this morning, but we are expecting the same kind of pinwheel of activity to fire up new storms as we get rolling through the day. I mentioned the low marine deck that we have. The live cameras back it up. Here's our Chinook Winds Casino Resort, Lincoln City. Very cloudy. You get above the clouds. How do you know they're low clouds? Because when you get up to 6,000 feet, you're above the clouds, right? Here's our Timberline camera up over the summit of Mount Hood. It's been about 50 degrees up there this morning. Now we're back below the clouds. And here's our state capitol building. And here is downtown Portland looking across the Willamette. The clouds, I mean, they haven't been incredibly low because it doesn't look like there's any fog up in the West Hills, and some of those elevations approach 1,000 feet. But the cloud deck itself is pretty solid. So here we are at noon. For the most part, still cloudy at the coast, and for the most part, still cloudy in the valley. And then this afternoon, watch the bright colors repop. Now, the scattered thunderstorm activity today will be anchored a little bit more across eastern Oregon and less so into central Oregon. So not as stormy in Bend, Sun River, and say the Redmond area as it has been as of late. You folks may just get clipped with some of these storms. It's really out farther to the east today that activity goes. And then if I get out of the way and play this into tomorrow, I mentioned that tomorrow we're mainly dry. Some clouds in Portland, Salem, and Longview on the coast to start, but they go away before the noon hour. And we really have a beautiful sunny Friday and mainly dry weather out across the east, as you can see. So we will need some sun breaks to get up above 70 today. Again, not positive that we make it. This shows our capital city at 74. We'll see. I've got Portland as warm as 75, but again, we'll need some sun breaks to do it. Tomorrow we get a brighter day, 78, 83 on Saturday, and there is that you wake up Sunday morning forecast and it's raining. That scattered shower threat follows, could linger into Monday morning. And there's that run of sunny, low humid day starting Tuesday. Back up to 80 and 82 degrees on Wednesday.
We still have more to come on today's weather out west. After the break, we're headed to California. Plus, later on, a new breakthrough could help rebuild coral reefs around the world. Our San Diego station will introduce you to the researcher diving into the science. Welcome back to Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and now it's time to check in with Monica Woods in Sacramento because she's going to tell us when the summer heat returns to northern and central California.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods. Our unsettled weather throughout northern and central California continues. For the most part, we're going to see more in the way of cooler than average temperatures than, say, showers. Those are going to be very few and far between. So we'll call it cloudy with occasional showers for the coast, valley, and foothills for the Sierra. Just a slight chance of a storm coming through. The fall feel is courtesy of this low pressure system. As it moves its way off to the east, that counterclockwise circulation still pumping in some instability for our Friday outlook in the Sierra. But again, it's going to be really slim. The kind of fun part of this is with those elevations above 10,000 feet. That's going to be about where that snow line is. A light dusting possible into our Thursday and Friday forecast. Meantime, severe weather outlook, it really is going to be on the lower threshold side of things. Most of this is going to be in the Sierra. Parts of the coastal range will experience that as well. But overall, day by day, we kind of lessen the risk of those thunderstorms coming in. For Friday, we're basically seeing that on the east side of the state, and that would be in reference to where that low pressure system will be posted into the end of the work week. This is right about the cusp that we actually start to see things turn over from the dry season into the rainy season. It's slow going, as you can see. It's kind of a slow climb through October and November. That after coming off of monthly averages that are generally about 0 to 0.10 inches of rain, so this isn't too bad. And then the bulk of the precipitation coming in December, January, and February. Overall, though, again, it's pretty slow going until we get deeper into the fall and winter season. Our rainfall totals over the next 24 to 48 hours, not going to see too much, about 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of rain. Again, for September, that's decent enough. It's just we won't see a huge whopper of a storm coming through. For our Thursday temperatures, highs are going to be in the 60s for the high country with 70s down low throughout the foothills. As we move our way southward, this is where we get some of those highest peaks. Mount Whitney over 10,000, 14,000 feet. You're going to see that in the central and southern Sierra. So again, highs are going to be warming into the 60s. Our lows are in the 30s and 40s for the next couple of nights, and that's where we have that opportunity, slight chance of seeing a couple of snow flurries. Again, it's going to be on the lower side of the threshold. As far as our Thursday temperatures along the central coast, we're in the 60s and 70s for inland areas, staying in the 80s. Keep in mind places like Mendota as well as Hanford, even Bakersfield. Our average highs are still in the low 90s, so this is putting us about 5 to 15 degrees below average. 60s and 70s along the coast here for the Bay Area. Once we head inland, we're in the 80s, an unseasonably cool afternoon for us on our Thursday. Highs in the 60s and 70s along the central and northern part of the state, and we'll see readings in the 80s here throughout the north end of the Sacramento Valley. Partly cloudy skies, slight chance of a thunderstorm. Overall, though, that risk continues to dwindle here. Highs in the low 80s, again about 10 to almost 15 degrees below average with those overnight lows in the 60s. Looking beyond that, we get into a drier weather pattern late Friday through Saturday. A slight chance of some showers returning Sunday into Monday. We've got highs in the 60s. Another cool weather system starting to pass on through. It does appear that it's going to be pulling its way ever so slightly to the north, though. For the foothills, a slight chance of a lingering shower on Thursday. Otherwise, a dry and warmer weekend on tap. We'll see that next weather system starting to make its approach on Saturday into Sunday. Most of us are going to stay dry, though, with this particular weather system. And then again, for the coast, we'll see a mix of sun and clouds. Our highs will be close to about 70 to 75 degrees. You're starting to see some hints there by the time we get into early next week of a warmer weather pattern. So as we unfold our extended forecast, you're going to see how, yes, we have that fall feel out there for the next couple of days. Slight chance of a shower on our Thursday, but then drier and starting to get quite warm, especially into next week, where we have highs almost near 100.
Southern California is feeling the natural AC from the Pacific. It's on full blast there as well, but temperatures are expected to climb next week, just like Northern California. Vanessa Paz has the details from cloudy San Diego.
Happy Thursday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. We have been enduring some cooler weather, especially in comparison to what we've been under over the past several weeks. For example, this is what we saw over the past 14 days in downtown San Diego at San Diego International Airport, where these numbers are recorded. We were averaging highs for quite some time in the high 80s, which is unusually warm, especially for those coastal communities. And now we're finally starting to see those temperatures simmer down down, all thanks to an area of low pressure that's hovering over much of the west coast. All right, headlines as we get to a Thursday, also known as Friday Eve going. The marine layer will gradually weaken, especially looking ahead to Saturday and Sunday. Overall, daytime highs for San Diego County will be pleasant, slightly below average, and then we're looking at warmer temperatures as we look ahead to next week with the return of monsoon and moisture, which will give us the uptick in humidity levels. So we were enduring those sticky conditions due to a ridge of high pressure that was the pattern kind of sitting over the southwest. We had a little break from it, and it's rebounding looking ahead to next week. So big picture aloft, here is the activity that I'm talking about, this area of low pressure sitting mainly over Northern California and the Pacific Northwest, making a huge impact there, but it's also increasing and having an influence for us here in SoCal in the form of onshore flow and cooler conditions. It's going to move out east, and high pressure will eventually redevelop looking ahead to the middle of next week, especially drawing in some moisture for us here in San Diego. Now, as far as the chance for rain goes, we are looking at very minimal chances for any precipitation to develop, but we will have that uptick in humidity along with the influx of clouds due to that moisture moving in. So here's what it looks like. This is our European model, and this is looking ahead to Tuesday night. Again, we look at some showers just to our south in northern Baja, and then Wednesday and Thursday, that's when you have the greatest chances of seeing some instability and activity, especially for the county's eastern half. All right, so we have been spoiled with cool nights, finally giving our ACs a break. We'll drop down to the high 50s again for interior parts of the county overnight, and it'll be a little warmer, not by much for the coastal areas. We'll shoot down into the mid to low 60s from Oceanside all the way to the South Bay. Here's a quick look at highs for tomorrow. Pretty comparable conditions in comparison to what we're experiencing today. Tomorrow's highs are going to be in the mid to low 70s. Again, this is cooler than where we should be. Although we are looking forward to cooler conditions, again, we're still in summer, so we have just a few more weeks until we start off a new season, and it will certainly start to feel like summer again looking ahead to next week. Daytime highs will touch close to 80 degrees for tomorrow afternoon. To wrap up the week, it will be fairly nice. A lot of sunshine to go around, especially for those areas away from the coast. Taking a look at the 7-day forecast for both the coast and inland valleys, subtle daily changes all the way through the weekend. We'll average highs in the mid to low 70s for the coastal and beach communities. And then Monday is our transition day into warmer weather. So not only is it going to be warm, but that's when we'll have the return of that easterly flow. Winds will shift out of the east towards the west, and that will usher in that monsoon of moisture. For the inland valleys, we are having a break again from that extreme heat. High 70s on tap for tomorrow afternoon. We'll stick in the low 80s for the weekend, and then we're close to 90 degrees by the time we get to the start of next week. Back in the 90s by Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The mountain areas, I mean, talk about fall-like conditions, especially when it comes to the evening hours. Those temperatures are dropping down overnight into the high 40s, some of the coolest nights that we've seen so far this year. And we're looking at high 50s for Saturday and Sunday, not this year, but this season, I should say. We're looking at high 50s Sunday night, and then we'll gradually start to warm up, remaining mild overnight in the 60s. Daytime highs are also going to see an uptick in numbers as well. Desert highs will be in the mid to low 90s all the way through the first half of the week, soaring close to 100 by the time we get to Sunday and Monday.
Heavy rain, severe weather risk, and the tropics. Today's national forecast is coming up after a quick break. The stall boundary is going to continue to bring more rain to South Florida today into Saturday. Meanwhile, severe storms with the potential for hail and damaging winds may impact the northern high plains. Julie Martin has more in today's national forecast.
Well, we will see some warmer temperatures, a return to summer, if you will, across the portions of the central U.S., the Great Lakes region, a bit warmer for you. Also, a lot of rainfall coming into Florida. That could lead to some flood issues, and we will see some rainy conditions continuing here in the Pacific Northwest. Here's a look at those forecast highs then for your Thursday. It does look comfortable across most of the eastern half of the U.S. We'll see 81 in Grand Rapids, the 80s creeping back into places like Des Moines, Iowa, Indianapolis, St. Louis and the Mid-South heating up into the 90s. That goes for you there in Memphis as well. And as we head into the northern part of the U.S., looking at very comfortable air here all across New England, the Great Lakes region, into the mid-Atlantic with those 70s and 80s. We'll see the 80s across the deep south as well. And then here in the Pacific Northwest, looking cool and comfortable, really, but we'll have that rain to contend with there. That will continue on through Friday. The watches and warnings are very minimal here for this Thursday. We do have some coastal advisories here along the Atlantic coast here, but really not going to be anything other than the flood threat is going to be a major problem in Florida. That severe weather threat is also on the low end for your Thursday. We're looking at a slight risk in yellow here, places like Montana, back to the Dakotas, anywhere in green. That's a marginal risk, including for you here in Denver. That's where we could see a couple of stronger storms develop potentially later on this afternoon and in through this evening. Now, I mentioned that rainfall, and although we will see rain here in the west, as I mentioned, coming into the Pacific Northwest, that's been ongoing. We've got the monsoonal moisture here in the desert Southwest also, but Florida is really going to be the bullseye. We could see several inches of rain over the next several days coming into Florida. Places like Miami, you have already picked up several inches since last week. So you see there the south portion of Florida really all lit up here with rain. So watching out for some localized flooding there for you. Here's your tropical outlook. Now, the National Hurricane Center does give a 30% chance of development to this region right over here, this lemon, if you will. Still way out in the Atlantic, though, and that 30% chance is still relatively low over the next 7 days. Now, we are at the peak of hurricane season right now, but so far, no activity in the tropics other than this little area that we will keep an eye on. All right, let's take you region by region now, taking you in the west first. That's where we're going to see the 70s in places like Seattle. Spokane, you'll be in the 80s. Boise in the 80s as well. And then heading into the desert Southwest, relatively comfortable conditions, really, for most of you. Phoenix will be the hot spot with the triple digits here. Also looking at the deep south, back in the 90s there in Texas, 80s across the east. And we will see those comfortable conditions all across the Great Lakes region into the northeast.
We still have much more coming up on Weather Out West. After the break, how a scent created by researchers could help rebuild reefs around the world. Scientists at the University of California, San Diego have created a scent they say is irresistible to coral, and it could help rebuild reefs around the world, not just locally. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz introduces us to one of the researchers diving into the new surprising science.
So these are the tanks.
Inside a small and temperature-controlled room at UCSD's Scripps Institution of Oceanography.
We are increasing the temperature in these tanks.
Associate researcher Daniel and his team start their day tending to an unusual nursery.
They feed on little tiny particles.
Tanks filled with baby coral.
It's our approach to enhance the growth.
These corals are part of a series of experiments aimed at reviving reefs threatened by warming oceans.
Are they looking good?
Pollution and disease, the main drivers of coral bleaching.
Bleaching is basically a stress response. When coral gets sick, essentially, it loses the main compartment that produces energy. So it's, you can imagine like an engine. And so these are tiny microscopic algae that live inside the animal. And primarily when it gets too hot, those algae are expelled from the tissue. And so then that makes the coral weak and can lead to death.
Now, Daniel and his team have a new tool.
This liquid, especially because when you shine light on it, becomes jelly.
SnapX, a scented gel that can be painted or sprayed onto damaged reefs or even 3D printed attachments like this one, made in their lab.
We try to create an environment that the baby coral likes.
Coral larvae are picky where they settle. They look for chemical cues from healthy reefs. SnapX uses natural chemicals from crustous coralline algae to mimic those cues.
On a degraded reef or an artificial reef, you don't have these chemical signals, or you have less of those, right? You might have signals that come from competitive algae that actually deters the coral larvae from settling. So you get an individual animal from the entire colony.
In lab and field tests, coral treated with SnapX attracted 20 times more larvae than untreated surfaces. It works immediately and lasts up to a month.
We've studied the main reef-building corals in Hawaii and showed that these scents work for this coral. But we have more work to do.
Daniel and his team also developed Coral Guard
to enhance the survivorship of the recruits.
It's a protected coating that blocks harmful competitors from growing over new coral. And they've created a new particle that could reduce coral bleaching by lowering toxic stress chemicals inside the coral. And the best part, all of it, including SnapX, is made with natural biomaterials, essentially taking from nature to give back to nature.
The causes of reef degradation are man-made. So why shouldn't the solutions be man-made as well? For anyone that has been diving on a reef, you know the beauty. There's a high aesthetic value. Coral reefs are hotspots of biodiversity. About 1/4 of all marine life of biodiversity is hosted in coral reefs. And at the same time, they are also a powerhouse in terms of the ecosystem goods and services they provide.
Vanessa Paz from San Diego, thank you so much. Let's talk about the drought because it's Thursday, which means we have a new update on the drought monitor. For us out west, not many changes over the past 2 weeks, except for some improvements. So that's a good thing. So when we're not talking about major changes in terms of things didn't get worse, but they also didn't get much better, at least we have some wins in this aspect. Improvements to portions of western Arizona into southern Arizona with small improvements were noted in Oregon. There was a small expansion in the extreme drought category in eastern Washington. And over the span of the next 2 weeks, may have above normal precipitation except for the PNW. So looking forward to that. We all need a little bit of rain. All right, so that does it for us today on Weather Out West. We hope you can join us again tomorrow for Friday's edition of Weather Out West.